Consuela Ward today, and I did a little bit of research on her, and she's done some really amazing things, and so I'm really excited to hear her speak. Has anyone heard the phrase, the elephant in the room? This lady is the elephant's trainer. So situations that people aren't comfortable with, she helps them get through that and get past that. So she has 15 years of experience as a speaker, facilitator, consultant, trainer, and coach on diversity and inclusion topics, and has served colleges and universities, school systems, human resources, professional conferences, youth groups, and community groups. She is the founder and president of Montage Group, LLC, a diversity and inclusion consulting firm where she is the principal speaker and facilitator for keynotes, training, workshops, and diversity and inclusion strategic planning. Dr. Ward has touched thousands of lives by creating opportunities for complicated conversations in safe spaces around diversity, inclusion, equity, and privilege. She is a visionary and activist for healing from issues related to systematic discrimination and marginalization, and has the ability to educate, empower, and excite audiences. She is passionate about helping others negotiate the diverse world in which we live today. Dr. Consuela Ward is committed to changing the world one conversation at a time. Let me introduce.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I know it's late. I'm doing a little bit bad. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the love. I was brought here today, or asked to come to talk to you about branding. So you won't get the nuts and bolts about what I actually do, but you'll get to hear a little bit about how I came to define myself as that and what it means for me here on out. So today we're talking about the importance of branding. First of all, let me explain who I am. I am a diversity and inclusion speaker. I'm an educator and a consultant. And when you're talking about branding, you're really talking about who you are. It's your reputation. So when people talk to you and they leave you, what is the legacy, your reputation that you're leaving behind? That is branding. So when people have a conversation with me, and people just come and pick my brain every now and then. I get paid for people to pick my brain. It's a beautiful life. Trust me. Right? So they leave and they tell me they feel educated, empowered, and excited. And that has become part of my tagline because it's part of my reputation. I currently teach at Kennesaw State University. I teach a diversity and inclusion class for education majors. No education majors in this room, right? So here's a beautiful thing about the state of Georgia. So I have to find things sometimes to brag on my state because sometimes I get a little discouraged. If you attend any of the state schools in the university system of Georgia, you have to take a diversity and inclusion class. I am vying for every student to take a diversity and inclusion class mandatorily. When you think about 85% of the teachers in our country are white women from middle to upper middle class backgrounds. You shouldn't apologize for being a white woman from a middle to upper class background. The challenge is all of our students are getting one perspective of the story. That is why diversity is necessary. Not only that, but then all students are learning what authority looks like. And as soon as you walk in the room, you're being judged, no matter who you are, based off of all of the complexity of ideas and identities that you bring into the room, right? So that's what we do. We talk about race unapologetically all day long, and I get paid for it. I love it. We talk about sexuality. We talk about intersexuality or intersectionality. We talk about sexual orientation, gender expression, religious oppression, and class oppression as well. And so most of my branding and marketing experience came actually when I was working at Georgia Southern University. Anybody ever heard of Georgia Southern? Been there? In the cut. So glad I'm here now. Right? But it was a beautiful, beautiful opportunity for me to kind of like be in a cocoon to really sharpen my skill set. Imagine bringing folks like Dick Gregory, Bill Ayers, Tim Wise, Angela Davis, Michael Eric Dyson to the country. I had to have a really good marketing plan in order to get people there. Not only did we get people there, we had to turn people away. How then do we put on drag shows every year? And every year I have to hire police, right, for security. And we actually had to use them several times because we had protesters. But every year the numbers increased until the last couple of years we had to turn 100 people away. How does that happen without having a brand that you can trust? And a brand that says, if I go to this program, I know that I'm going to feel educated, empowered, and excited. And that's who I am. So my bachelor's, which feels like a little while ago, I actually went to Florida State University, got an English degree. My story is I never really went to college to get a degree. I just need to get away from my crazy mama. But you know, education saved my life. So it was just part of my journey, part of my path, and I appreciate that experience. And then, couldn't find a job, didn't actually realize I was about to graduate, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just was trying to get out. I didn't realize I was going to graduate and have to do something. So then I said, well, let me apply to this thing called grad school. Never heard of it. Next thing you know, I get a letter in the mail. Hey, you want to come? I said, well, why not? So I packed up I was about to sing the Beverly Hillbilly song, but I just left it. I packed up my car and I drove to Indiana, not knowing a soul, got a master's degree. And my master's degree is in communication with an emphasis in radio, TV, film. And so went back to Florida, where I was from, and got married to my college sweetheart and started teaching high school. And that's where education really started saving me. Part of my story is I had mentors and teachers to see the light that we all have, but all of our lights aren't acknowledged by a mentor. I was very fortunate. And so she saw something in me and said, hey, fill this out, fill this out, fill this out. Next thing you know, I'm in college. Next thing you know, I'm graduated. Next thing you know, I'm going to grad school. Oh my goodness, now I'm going back home to get married. And I started teaching high school. Didn't even like kids. Right? Not sure I still do. I have my child just turned 16 last week. I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, both boys. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, they eat a lot. So, worked at this place called Georgia Southern, and like I said, man, what a wonderful opportunity. Tell you something, when you start working, for those of you who haven't started yet, sometimes you may have to do some grunt work. Embrace it, because that's where you learn. You learn when you're in your cocoon. Don't complain all the time. Just do it. Ask, what is this lesson that I'm supposed to learn from this situation? Learn it, and I guarantee you'll be placed in a situation where you can use it at some point. All right, so let's get to the nitty-gritty. So we're going to talk about the definitions of marketing, logos, and branding, and what all that means to you. We're going to actually assess your brands today and talk a little bit about the benefits of brands and the strategies for effective brands. So, first of all, for those of you who are Game of Thrones fans, marketing. Marketing is a little bit different than branding. Marketing is a doing. You are doing when you're marketing. It's a strategy or activity that you do in order to get an outcome. An outcome may be to get people to like you, to get people to know who you are, to increase your clientele, or to increase your dollars. That is marketing. For example, anybody take Aleve, the medicine Aleve? Okay, so Aleve, when they first put their product out on the market, they chose their name carefully, and they could care less what it was called as long as it was named something that began with the letter A. Anybody want to guess why? First on the shelves and the pharmacy. And so that's why they wanted it to start with the letter A. Because as soon as you walked down the aisle, their product would be the very first product that you saw. right? So that is a doing, that was a part of their marketing strategy. A logo is simply the clothes that your brand wears. So it could just be a symbol. It's just your identity. But branding is your legacy. It is a promise that you feel or fulfill to people who you are in relationship with. That is a beautiful thing. So we're going to play a little game. See how much of this you really know. So what's the first one? All. Very good. Next one? Bubblicious. Campbell. Yeah, we're good.
Down?
Close. Dawn. Right? Here's the difference between a logo and a brand. I would ask my son who washes dishes, honey, pass me the Dawn. I don't say, pass me the dishwashing detergent. If you can use the name of your product in place of what the product is, you know you've got some good branding. Got it? Lego my
Egos.
Egos are what? Waffles, right? But do I say Lego my Eggo waffles?
No.
Lego my egg that. This sign or the symbol is the actual logo, but the Eggo is the brand. Fritos, good job. Gatorade. Yeah, I had a hard time with that one too. Hebrew, it's the hot dog. Hebrew hot dogs.
Hebrew National.
Hebrew National, yes. Ice.
Jello.
Jello, good job. Kool-Aid. Lysol. Don't hand me the disinfectant, hand me the, absolutely, that is branding. And M&M's. Nilla wafer.
Oreos.
Pez.
Quakers.
Q-tips. Reese's.
Starburst.
Tide.
Oh,
Uncle Ben's, good. V8. Whisk. I didn't know this. Extra. Because I only use all. So. York patty and zest. They still make zest? I didn't know they still made zest. So when you can use your name or your logo as a verb, you know you've made it. When I want to talk to my friends overseas, there's so many different ways I can do that. I can use Hangouts. I can use, what are some other ones other than Skype? Tango. Uvu. But the first thing that I always think of is, let me Skype you, right? That's what you want in a brand. Google it. I don't say, choose a search engine to find out the information. Google it. That is the brand. Because when I Google it, what feeling do I have? What am I promised? An answer. Absolutely. And then Photoshop that picture. Right? Photoshop is just a tool. But there are other things like Illustrator that can do a lot of the same kinds of things, but we think Photoshop. So if I said Whitney, who am I talking about? Whitney Houston. How many millions of Whitneys could there be in this world? But you knew exactly who I was talking about. All right, for y'all my age. Janet. Janet Jackson. Babe. Okay. Beyonce. I said Beyonce. Y'all don't say babe. Yes. B. It's a B. Okay, it's spelled B-E-Y. Yes, Beyonce. That is branding. That is hilarious. All right. So, what is the purpose of a brand? First of all, you have two different types of brands that you all are nurturing right now. One is your personal brand and your company brand. Company brand is whoever you work for. So if you have your own business, your business has a brand, and so will you. This is not anything that you'll necessarily learn in a classroom, but you will be your most happiest as a human being if your personal brand aligns with your company's brand. One of my good friends who is a musician, very, very good musician. He can sing Luther. Y'all know who Luther is? All right. Brandy. He can sing Luther and do it justice. But he is sitting in a cubicle 9 hours a day, bored, sad, and unhappy. Because his personal brand is not aligning with his company's brand. So that's going to be very important. So the purpose of identifying and coming up with your brand is professional development and personal development, so that you're not falling all over yourself like this horse. Right? So that's why you want to brand. Everything you do will add to your brand. And if you are not intentional about branding what you want, you will create an unintentional brand that could be potentially dangerous for your career or even your personal life. So you want to use positive interactions to help create your brand and not the negative ones. We know some negative Nancys, every time they go out, they're complaining about something, right? That's their brand. And guess what's going to happen at work? They're not going to be asked to do certain types of things. And then he or she will continue to complain. Sometimes when we sent emails out, when I was working at Georgia Southern, I was running the department, and so I would have to negotiate relationships all over campus. The A-type personality that I know I am, I would want to say, I need this by 2. But because I'm also building relationships, I know that I can't do that with everyone, because somebody might need me to say, hi, how are you? How are the kids? How's Ted? How's the dog? Before they're warmed up enough to say, okay, I can get this to you. So you have to know your audience as well, and that's going to be really, really important. Everybody doesn't need to be treated that way, but to treat people how they want to be treated. I know we've all been taught to treat people the way you want to be treated. That's wrong. It's always been wrong. Or I'll say it's different. Because, for instance, I might not like flowers. You might like flowers. So you send me flowers because you like flowers. I don't like flowers. Send me chocolate. I like chocolate. Right? And how do we know what the other person likes? You ask. You ask. And we're going to talk about some of that as well. So, we're going to assess your brand. Do you all know each other? Somewhat? Okay. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you to get your phones out. Yeah, all right. You're going to do 2 things. One, you're going to write down on a piece of paper 3 words that you want people to think of you. And then you're going to text 3 to 5 people in this classroom, well, anywhere, but right here where you're seated. Text 3 to 5 people and ask them what they think of you.
Oh, wow.
You write down 3 things that you want people to think of you. Then you're going to text 3 to 5 people, and these are people who are going to tell you the truth. Always have somebody in your corner who's going to tell you the truth. You're going to ask them, describe me in 1 to 3 words. Any 1, 2, or 3 words. So when you understand your value, it's easier for you to perform at your best. That is why it's important for you to understand what your brand is, how people view you, and how you view yourself. There's certain jobs out there that are so valuable that when you graduate, you don't have to lift a finger to find a job. You know why? Because they're coming to find you. I hurt my foot a little while ago and went to a physical therapist, something like that. And I think I was in my doctoral program 2 years less than he was. And he and I were just having this conversation. His salary was like way out of the box. And he never had to look for a job. He's like, yeah, the field is wide open. They just come looking for you as soon as you graduate. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Yeah. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could align with something like that? But what I try to teach folks is find your passion, whatever your passion is, and figure out how to monetize that. If you monetize whatever passion that was already seated in you before you got here, you'll be as magnificent as a Whitney or a Beyonce or a Luther. Because everybody has that same potential as long as you are aligned with who you really are. So many times we're convinced to be who somebody else told us we're supposed to be. That doesn't align with who we are. Sometimes it's society telling us that we should be a certain thing. Sometimes it could be our parents or our spouses or partners, right? But you have to figure out who you are at your core.